opinion, Jake. The tribe has spoken.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Aw, fuck you too, sweetie.
I'm JJ, one of the original Tribe of Nerds members. You can catch me on Marvel, Pokemon, and other gaming podcasts.
What up? It's Josh, resident superhero nerd, but I also dabble in the occasional super villain as well.
Some may know me as the Chaos Gremlin, but really I'm just Joe King.
Pikachu, use Volt Tackle! Good job, Pikachu!
On the Tribe of Nerds.
You think I got pregnant on purpose? Or this is some kind of plan? You are out of your mind!
Claire. I'm out of here.
Worst character of the episode is going to be easy.
We got a problem. The manifest. Jack, the census. The names of everyone who survived, all 46 of us. I interviewed everyone here at the beach, got their names. One of them isn't. Jack. One of them isn't in the manifest. He wasn't on the plane. Where's Jack?
Wow. Interesting. I mean, it was weird, like, that he did just, like, show up, like, what, a couple episodes ago out of nowhere, so that makes sense. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Tribe of Nerds. Kristin, Michael, Kevin, Gregg, and I are here for episode 10 of Lost, and Raised by Another. So this is a very interesting episode, particularly that ending that we will get to. So what are your guys' thoughts on this episode?
I've been waiting, Jake, for this moment. I would like to say something like quite clever. I think I've been doing on the podcast, it's the only time I've been trying to mislead you. In the pilot of episode that we filmed, I was like, oh, there's 46 people, and occasionally they'll just drop people in. Like they're really cool about introducing people. I was just preparing for Ethan so that you wouldn't be like, who the hell is this guy? I do also think it's cool that the episode they introduced Ethan, they also introduced the guy with the rash. So I thought that was like a fun way of them saying like, oh, we're just introducing people to try and cover it up. Whereas like Ethan's the one we really need to focus on.
Yeah, they also introduced Scott and Steve too, so it was like, they did really well of like just bringing in random people to try and throw everybody off on this moment. But this moment in this episode, it's so jam packed. So we're gonna we have to like put this like out there for our listeners. This is gonna be a very long podcast because there is a lot to unpack here.
Yeah. As you know, I love the mystery of the island. That's like one of my favorite parts. So what's someone on the island besides the French woman who wasn't on the plane? What's happening here? Yeah. So I love it. I love the reveal.
Yeah, it was very good. As we'll get to. Gregg, any thoughts?
This isn't my favorite episode, but it's a great episode. I like all the stuff that comes out of it. It's just not huge on Claire.
That's fair.
Oh, poor Claire. I mean, that is a fair. It's the reveal that I love. I mean, the Claire stuff. It's fine.
Oh, absolutely. It's just Claire is not the one for me.
Yeah, I'm hating on the pregnant girl.
Or two.
You have wrong blonde girls. You're supposed to dislike Shannon.
Right. Yeah.
We like
wrong one.
Wrong.
We're 2 minutes in and we're already on the Shannon.
We're already doing it. Listen, later on in this episode, I will give credit to Shannon where credit is due, and that's literally for her one line. So we'll get there. Shall we jump right into this thing?
Yes.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
So I mentioned that this is going to be a very long podcast. I'm going to actually do something very different than what we've done. I'm going to break down every possible like section here, but I'm going to stop after one because Jake, there's so much that I want to get into your thoughts on when you were watching this.
Yeah.
And so I think that instead of making a longer like blocking, I kind of want to go through each little thing if that's okay with everyone. So obviously we start this episode by a baby crying, eyes open. It's Claire. She's hearing this baby cry. She sits up. What is happening? She realizes her stomach is no longer gone. So she's like, where's the baby? She's very confused in this moment. She starts to wonder, where is this cry coming from? And so she starts to wander around and she then sees a light, in the jungle. So she walks towards it. All the while this baby's still crying. She stumbles upon Locke and he's just, Kevin's favorite. They have like a little bit of an exchange there. She's like, what's happening? He's like, what's happening. Very ominous, if you will. And to the point where, he says he was your responsibility. Everyone has to pay the price. He then, he looks up and we have this very creepy face, like the eyes, one black, one white. His I will tell you guys is the many times as I've watched this episode, I still have a really hard time watching that face because it's really, really like demonic and creepy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she again hears the crying and she continues to walk away from that moment. She then gets to a crib sitting there in the middle of the jungle. She notices that the mobile around the crib is the plane, the oceanic plane there. And she starts to pull back the blankets. And as she does this, she finds a pool of blood, to which she's screaming, and we see her in the cave and Charlie running to her aid, like, Claire, wake up, Claire, you're okay, you're okay. She's just, she's inconsolable. Like it's not even just like she was screaming. She could not snap out of this. And so of course, he looks down, her hands are bleeding. This is serious, y'all.
Yeah.
This is where all these things are happening. To the point where we get to Jack coming in and he's like, must have been a hell of a nightmare. And she's like, who said it was a nightmare? And he's like, you dug your nails a quarter of an inch into your palms. Like, that's a lot. That's saying a lot. Lets her know about the sleepwalking and things like that. But then he starts to ask her about her pregnancy, which I'm going to stop here because then we're going to get into her flashback here. But I really want to kind of jump into this, Jake, of what you're thinking in this moment of this nightmare that she's seeing, her, the blood, the John Locke of it all. What are your thoughts in this first opening scene?
Yeah, well, so I saw the title and I'm thinking, okay, they've hinted that Walt has been raised by his mom. So I thought it was going to be a Walt and Michael episode. Then it goes to Claire and I'm like, oh, okay, they're going this direction with this episode instead. Yeah, it was clear that it was some sort of nightmare. But that it's probably gonna have meaning later. I will point out that I did notice, as you guys said, the white and black. We saw that the white and black rock were found earlier in the show. What was it, episode 6 or 7 or something? Yeah. So
5 when you got the caves. Yeah. White rabbit.
Okay. Yeah. I knew it was earlier, but yeah. So I did notice that, and. Yeah, that was interesting. I have theories. I had theories as the episode went on that came about with Claire's backstory, as we'll get to. But I thought that this was an interesting way to start the episode. Most of these openings to these episodes have something that hooks you in immediately, being like, this is serious or this is interesting. So. It was cool.
Yeah. I mentioned, when I first watched it, and even since when I've done my millions of rewatches, Locke's face, really creeps me out.
Yeah.
It's one of these, like you said, Jake, it really hooks you in, what is about to happen in this episode. Kevin, Greg, Michael, what were your guys' thoughts? If you can remember when you first saw it, or even on your rewatch, was there anything that you guys, was there anything in your, heart, soul, thoughts, all of it? What are your guys' thoughts on this opening scene?
I remember, I think on the rewatch, because it had been a long time between when I first watched it and when I rewatched it. I remember thinking, the way she's talking about her OBGYN, right? Like the way she's talking about her doctors, like sounds fake. So either we have really bad like man writers in 2004, which is entirely possible, or there's like she didn't actually have this doctor, right? Like I remember thinking that of like, what's going on? Like this dialogue is not accurate. This is not how this is supposed to sound. So that had me on the rewatch, like paying very close attention to that.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting you say that. This episode was actually written by a woman, Lynn E. Litt. I had that in my my notes, so we can direct our ire towards her.
Well, then there must be something else going on, because those were some vague answers she was giving. I don't know that I knew that in 2004. I don't know that I knew that about pregnancies, but there's like I could tell there was like a vagueness to her answers that I was like even at one point he's like, "How's your doctor?" And she's like, "Good," and I'm like, No. That's not the question, Claire.
I also, when we were watching this, I went down this horrible rabbit hole where I didn't even think I'd noticed it before until this watch, where Claire has this necklace on, like a wooden necklace, and she has it all through the episode. And I'm like, what the hell is this necklace? I spent ages looking it up and trying to find something, and it's just the Chinese symbol for love. So it was completely meaningless, but I spent so long trying to look this thing up. Also, those scenes where Claire is screaming, I guarantee that was a one take and done kind of thing. There's no way she's recreating those kind of screams.
Scream was so good.
Yeah, that was very, very well done.
Mm-hmm. Gregg?
This rewatch for me was the first time I noticed John Locke's eyes. I
really
noticed it before because I'm either usually watching it on my phone or a really dark screen in a well-lit room, and I just never noticed it. But
I didn't notice it this time either. The TV is far away, and I don't look when John Locke is on the screen. So
that's a really good.
You're gonna have a hard time with this show again.
So I mean, Gregg, like you just said, you now noticed it. Is it something that, I mean, now even Jake brought up the rocks that they found when they went to the caves? Is that, I mean, I see for me, like the one black eye, one white eye, that's not me. So Jake, like kudos to you to like be like,
yeah,
I remember that from the rocks, because I would not. I'm just like, this man is creepy. That's where I'm at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Well, you have the game he was playing at the beginning too. Had the black and white rocks.
Yep. Backgammon.
Yeah.
So like it's a really cool little tidbit to throw in there, but it also makes me wonder if he's going to end up being a good guy or a bad guy, because he's got both in him clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just, again, like this opening scene, like Michael was saying, like those screams, like you feel every emotion here in this first opening scene. So great job to all the actors in this moment. So moving right along, obviously when Jack asks Claire about her pregnancy, obviously the only one here who has been through a pregnancy. For fun fact there, you aren't supposed to travel in your third trimester, so that's why Jack was asking her these questions. But also, if she's like so tormented by what just happened, she's of course gonna probably be like a little shaken up and like not coherent. But moving on, Jack asks her about her pregnancy and she goes into her first flashback. So the first flashback, we see her leaving the bathroom, throwing a pregnancy, test at her man, Thomas. They're all in an uproar. They're panicking. They're pacing the floor. They don't know what's going on. I know we all have our thoughts on Thomas, which we'll get to.
Fuck Thomas. I'm going to take Kevin's thing. Not Locke. Fuck Thomas.
Locke's not in this episode very much, so he can be the worst character.
There's literally going to be so many FUs to so many people in this series, but yes, in that moment, yes, 100%. So yeah, they're panicking. And he goes, I think they're red. And she's like, red? What? And she like grabs the test. She's like, those are pink. I'm freaking pregnant. Oh my gosh, what are we going to do? So obviously she's just disheveled. She's making the bed. She's panicking. When you get pregnant and it's not something planned, it's definitely a very scary moment. I mean, I can sit there and say that for myself with my first son. It was very much a surprise. I felt all those feelings that Claire felt in that moment. And so then Thomas goes, what if we keep it? We can do this. We can raise the baby. And she's like, shut up. Like, shut up. We're not doing this. This isn't a part of our plans. And he's like, but it could be. We could have a baby. And she's like, oh, okay, let's have a baby. So then we cut to her friend and her walking up, and she's like, oh, he's so excited, and we're doing this and we're doing that. And she's just talking about the plan. She's excited now. It's something to be excited about. Her friend, they're walking up, and we realize that they're going to a psychic. And Claire's a little like, really? We're doing this? And her friend's like, you're all into the astrology stuff. And she's like, oh, I guess.
Hilarious.
Let's do this.
Yeah, what a callback. I didn't want to hear about that again.
So we do see her sitting down with the psychic, Mr. Malkin. I always say Malcolm and it's Malkin. And so he's like, okay, cool, thank you for the money. Let me have your hands. To which she hands over her hands, and he sits there for a minute, and he's like, oh, when did you find out? She's like, what? He's like, about the baby. And she's like, oh, shoot, he might actually know what he's talking about. I found out 2 days ago. Like, and the other one's over there. We haven't told her mom. She's like, shut up. He actually knows some stuff. Like, shut up a minute. I'm listening. To the point where he says that it's blurry. Asks her if she wants to continue. She says yes. He continues, and then he gets a very, like, worried, concerned look on his face, and he goes, nope, sorry, I'm done. Here's your money back. Get out. I'm not doing this. Like, time to go. And he just says you need to leave. Like, he does not, they're trying to ask questions. He's not entertaining anything. He's like, out of my house. So Jake, what are your thoughts as this like flashback, this first little flashback, all the information going in? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, well, either I thought it was gonna have something to do with what would happen to the baby or whatnot. Another thought I had was, for some reason, my mind went to, is she, is her baby not one that she had with Thomas? Like, is this with another man? That's something that my mind went to. And it was through, like, when we first see Thomas struggling with a decision, I thought it was for that reason. And no, it's just because Thomas is a dick. But
we're going to get to that too. Trust me, we're going to get there. Yeah. We will all have our hate moments for Thomas here in just
So that was unfortunately like my first thought. And I'm glad that that wasn't the case. But my mind definitely went there.
I remember vividly my theory when I saw the scene. I was so freaked out. It's such a well acted scene by the guy that plays the sidekick. I was like, oh my god, this baby's the Antichrist. Like, why is he so scared of this baby? I was like, this baby's gonna be evil, and I think, yeah, crazy.
No, listen, I have talked to psychics. Like, I am not a like psychic hater. However, I am skeptical. And so when I remember watching it and being like, whatever, like, why does a young girl come with her best friend to come to a psychic? Because she's pregnant. Like, you're not impressing anybody, sir.
Gregg?
I have to do it. Claire is the most gullible person in this entire series. She gets pregnant by a guy. Oh, let's raise it together. We'll be happy. Yeah, never mind. Fuck off. A psychic tells her not to go, or not to give up the baby, and she decides not to give up the baby. Charlie gives her an empty jar of freaking peanut butter, and she thinks it's peanut butter. Like,
oh god.
She doesn't think it's peanut butter.
Doesn't actually think it's peanut butter.
I get it, but like, she is too much. She is too.
She is very. That's fair. That's a fair assessment of Claire. Okay.
I think it's bordering on fair. I wouldn't say fair.
I mean,
even
she does listen to the people who talk to her.
Everybody takes advantage of her. The fish and fry was paying her $5 in 2004. The minimum wage has been $11 since the 80s in Australia.
So for characters, we have Kristin hates Shannon, Kevin hates John Locke, Gregg hates Claire.
I don't hate Claire. I just hate how she's presented.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I still like Claire, but I do see what you're saying.
She's more worthless than Shannon because she can't do anything because she's pregnant.
You stop that
she
right
can't
now.
do it.
All right, listen, I got off that train,
around.
so you are alone on this one now.
Look, she can't
Kevin was
do
trying
anything.
so hard to be like understanding, and he's like, nope.
No, we're done.
But Shannon can go on hikes and stuff. Claire can't.
Claire can. She just has contractions mid-hike. It's fine.
She's always causing issues. She walks 50 feet and has contractions.
That's why she should stay in the cave.
What are we here right now? Why is this?
I don't know.
Oh,
She's with child,
this
okay?
train has been derailed. Like we went and jumped off this. Oh my goodness gracious!
Greg's usually so chill, and he's came to this episode like on this wild
I
one.
don't like how she's presented. It doesn't fit with anything else to me. She's gullible. She's immature. She doesn't have anything really going on except for everybody else's problems being thrown on her.
I did not see
Or
this.
everybody else's problems being caused by her.
Being caused by her.
Jeez.
I did not see this episode taking this turn. My goodness. Oh my god. Okay. We're getting back. We're re-railing this train here.
Let's go back. Yeah, you're good.
Oh my gosh. All right. So this has to be mentioned, but I'm going to jump into the next part that's we got to get to. Obviously on the beach after this happens, Jack finds Kate. They do their little flirty, bleh, whatever moment. They mention Saeed. He's been gone for a week. He says, something tells me he'll be okay. And then we have my favorite moment that I literally teared up in is Charlie being so sweet. I love this man. He's sitting there, dear diary, today I swallowed a bug. Like, it's just the cutest little interaction. He sits down with her. I want to be your friend. I'm here for you. She kind of just sits there like, okay, what are you doing? This is work. I will agree with Gregg. Don't be a bitch. Okay. I know you're going through some stuff, but this man is being adorable to you right now. And he realizes okay, I need to go. And she's like, oh, Charlie, wait, no, I'm sorry. And he's like, I got it. I've definitely need to go away here. But it showed a very true, well-meaning moment between Charlie and Claire that he really just was trying to show that he was there for her. But of course, the big part here is now we're back at nighttime here, and we see Claire sleeping and somebody coming in her mouth, and we see somebody about to stab her stomach, and she wakes up screaming again. And they're all like, hey, what's going on? Whatever. She's like, somebody attacked me. Charlie's on the ready. He's like, come on, we gotta go, check the perimeter and all these things. And they go off being, good cops that they are. And we see that Jack and Michael are sitting there talking to her. Jack asks Ethan to go get her water. And then she's like, he was trying to stab me with a needle and all these things. And he's like, okay, Claire, yeah, sure. And she's just, again, completely just shaken up, doesn't know what's happening. Jack's not really there with her. But then, of course, another sweet moment by my boy Charlie. Brings a little blanket. Close your eyes. I'm going to stay here all night to protect you. Just again, another very sweet moment between the two. So Jake, jumping into that, we now see another moment here. What are your thoughts now that we're getting a little bit more here and there?
Yeah, I had to think about sorry, I'm trying to process my thoughts real quick.
You're good.
Did you think she'd really been attacked, or did you think it was like Jack saw?
Yeah, were you a Jack or were you a Claire?
I almost saw it from Jack's perspective a little bit, just being like, okay, she had this nightmare here. That was definitely a nightmare, and then or a vision, I guess you could say. Maybe that comes into play later. It probably will. But I at first I thought it was a nightmare. Clearly now by the end of the episode, I'm thinking a little bit differently. But yeah, I can totally see Jack's perspective at the moment, or in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I was the same. I remember just thinking oh, we've seen her have this first nightmare, and now she's waking up again screaming. Where would someone get a needle? I just thought Jack's probably right here, that she's not actually being attacked. So Yeah, and then that's why the end of the episode is such a punch to the stomach.
Yeah.
I agree fully.
Yeah. Kevin, anything before we move on?
No, I mean, just the same, that like, as a Jack, like, it makes sense. Like, yeah, I mean, you're in a very stressful place. You're in a very stressful situation outside of being in the stressful place. Like, you're having nightmares. Like, you don't believe me. Like, well, I mean, no, we're all sleeping in the same place. We didn't see anybody. So Jack makes a lot of sense. I'm a Jack.
Yeah. To jump on the defense Claire train, we talked about how Walt was handling everything that's happened to him. You know, his mother dying, now he's crashed on his island. Also, until she starts getting attacked in her sleep, Claire's been dealing with the fact she's stranded on this island, pregnant, about to pop pretty well. She's been pretty upbeat and chill about the whole thing. I'd be freaking out.
No, she's about to have a baby with no medical anything.
Right.
Luckily, there is a doctor, but no medical equipment, no not even a place for the baby to lay once it's born. So she's dealing with that stress really well. I'll give her that, but it is stressful.
Yeah,
and Jack's busy a lot.
He is sure busy.
He's got a lot of people to fix up.
Again, jumping into this, as the one that can comment on these, being pregnant, it's the weirdest thing, and I don't know if it's ever been explained to as of why. But those are things pregnancy dreams are legit. They are very real. They are very it's intense. And I can tell you guys that from experience that she for that reason alone, and Jack being a doctor should understand that even if he is thinking this is fake, those pregnancy dreams are 100% real and they're terrifying. So I don't know why. I never got an explanation to why I was having those dreams by a doctor, but as a doctor, he should know that is a pregnancy thing. Anything else to mention? Go ahead.
Having a human being growing inside you is going to do some weird things to your body, I think.
Oh yeah, it's a weird whole thing.
Dreams are weird in the first place. Add a baby and a deserted island to it, and listen.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so picking up to where that moment is, we see them kind of all of their little torches lit. They're looking around. Jack stumbles upon Hurley, where Hurley is yeah, we haven't seen anything, but man, if I was a cop, I'd be knocking on the doors. We don't have doors. We should probably be figuring out. We have people living at the beach. We have people living at the caves. We need to start a system here. We need to figure this out. And so to which that they go on to the beach the next day. He's asking Locke questions too. Of course, Locke is being as creepy as ever. I love this moment between Hurley and him because Locke is just in his Lockness, and Hurley's just looking around, and to eventually where he runs off and he's I know I already talked to you, I gotta get away from this guy.
Yeah.
I love that moment from Hurley. Also, we got another glimpse into Hurley too when he was talking to Jack the night before. He does say, "You don't know me very well. My name is Hugo Reyes." Hurley's a nickname. Also, again, another great line. He's like, "Why? I'm not telling." It's just, I love Hurley in these moments here. But yeah, so they're walking with Kate, Jack, Charlie, we see them talking. And he's asking Kate, "Hey, did you notice anybody leave the beach last night?" She's like, "Why? What's going on? I mean, I don't know." I'm not everybody's babysitter. And Charlie's like, "Okay, Claire was attacked, blah, blah, blah." Jack's like, I don't know if she was attacked. And Charlie, again, to Claire's defense, is like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "I think it's in her head." And he's like, "It's not in her head." And they're having this battle back and forth. And you just kind of see this, again, not even just a Claire versus Jack. Now you've got Charlie's on Claire's side. Kate's of course she's going to be on Jack's side because of their little flirty miss, whatever. But they are kind of trying to figure out what's about to happen. Jack mentions she's going to have this baby. She's got a week or two maybe left. Less if she's going to keep the stress up because that can lead to early labor and all of these things. We have to keep her calm. We see him try and give her a sedative at one point, to which, of course, she is very upset and kind of, taken aback by and just not okay with, which is what will lead her out of the caves, and Charlie following her, which we'll get to. But also in these moments where we see Hurley, he's asking people questions. We saw him with Locke. We see him with Ethan. Ethan said, I'm from Ontario. My last name is Rom. And he's like, Rom? R-O-M? He's like, yeah. And, oh my gosh, what are you doing this for? And he's like, oh, I'm just checking everybody out. We do see that, buckle up, Michael, here's your moment. We see Boone and Shannon, they're packing up, they're getting ready to go to the caves, and they're like, why are you asking us all these things? This is where Shannon will only get any kind of credit from me. She has a great little monologue here. She's like, where do I live? Crap Hole Island, blah, blah, blah. She's continuing on. She's got some great liners here. And to the point where he's like, somebody was attacked last night in the caves. Because Boone's like, of course, being Boone, like, why are we asking all these questions? Like, what's going on? All of a sudden, you guys want to know all of our information, you know? And Shannon gets her great moment. I am so not moving to the rape caves. And this is the only moment that I will ever give Shannon any credit because that was hilarious.
Yeah.
And she throws her stuff down. And so that's kind of where we're going to leave off on this section before we really get into anything else. All right, Michael, let me have it. I know I gave Shannon some credit here. Take it away.
Yeah, she's hilarious. She's sarcastic and funny. I just think she deserves a little credit. So I appreciate, I'm going to appreciate it when I can get it. It was a great scene from Shannon. I have two things to talk about in this little block.
Yeah.
Jake, firstly, Ethan Rom, the surname is very important because this is actually an anagram. So there is a clue for you that this guy is not to be trusted because Ethan Rom is an anagram of other man.
Oh,
which you're not going to pick up on the first rewatch and first watch unless you're like insanely good at anagrams. But yeah, that was something that was laid in there. It's like you can't trust this guy.
Yeah, well, because I like before obviously like the big reveal when he says his last name is Rom, I'm like that's a bit of an odd last name, but like I was just like okay, I mean I didn't know if it necessarily meant something or not, but yeah, it makes more sense now with all the context there.
That's why I had to like hone in on that and say Rom, R-O-M.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody else have thoughts on this little? Kevin, do you want to give Shannon a little credit here? I mean, it's the only time she's going to get it, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to make Shannon the best character of this episode because it's probably the only chance we have to get her on that list.
Don't talk crazy.
But I mean, obviously there are better ones. But yeah, I mean, good for Shannon for having a good comeback.
You did that so begrudgingly.
For about a whole 30 seconds, Shannon gets a moment.
She actually has but that whole scene, she actually is I don't want to even say useful, but she's like a member of the group. She's not just there to complain. She's not just there to whine that she can't find Boone. She's actually just a member of the group who is also surviving on the island.
Crap Hole Island.
Right.
Gregg, thoughts here?
Yeah, I'll give it to Shannon. That line makes me pop every single time I hear it, just because it's just so out of the blue from the rest of the scene.
Yeah.
But, I like the Charlie and Claire stuff. From the Charlie side of it, she's kind of a dick. But that's all I got for this.
I got one more thing.
Yes.
I do really like that that Hurley kind of taking control of things here, and he has a really good idea of talking about canvassing and saying we don't even know these people. It's like I was walking with Scott and Steve. It's like who the hell is Scott and Steve?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I just like that he's been the comedic character for these first 10 episodes, and we see him actually having a bit more about him, more than just the comedy lines, and it's actually a really smart thing.
Yeah.
And it leads to him discovering that there's someone here that shouldn't be here.
Right.
If not for Hurley, we maybe don't know.
Right. Well, and that's where I did specifically leave this part off just because I also have to give credit to my man. But Boone does mention use the manifest. Why are you writing all this down on his little notepad? Go use the manifest, dude. And he's like, wait, what? The manifest? And he's like, who has it? Who has it? That's a stupid question. Who has everything? My man Sawyer. So of course we see Hurley walk up. Listen, this is a whole section on its own because I mean Sawyer is again shirtless. All right. Yeah. Yay for me and everybody that loves Sawyer because I think he should just be like naked the entire time. But you know, to each their own. I guess they have to put a shirt on him sometimes. But he of course walks in and we have seen Sawyer give people a lot of like crap for trying to get something. He wants something in return. He wants this, that, and the other thing. He wants you to give your, you know, your firstborn to him, if you will. You know, he wants all these things because he believes these things are his property, even though they were all of everybody else's property not even a couple weeks ago. But Hurley walks in very like very sure of himself, and I'm very proud of Hurley in this moment. He sits down, he's like, so you have something, and I'm gonna take it, and you're gonna give it to me, and you're not gonna give me any crap about it, and you need the brownie points, dude. So, like, hand over the manifest. And Sawyer's like, okay, dude. All right, sure. Here you go. It's right there in the brown suitcase. Like, go take it. And I'm like, good for you, Sawyer. You're so sweet. And you might be my favorite of the episode again, because, like, shirtless, and you're being so nice by giving the manifest up. So, Michael, you did bring up that Hurley, if it not for Hurley, we wouldn't have found out. I say, if not for Sawyer, we wouldn't have found out.
It's funny how silent you were on, you know, Sawyer not, you know, withholding the information that he didn't have the afterburn inhalers the entire time. But when he does something good, all of a sudden he's a hero.
Yeah.
I had to do it because I wanted the eye roll and I got it. So that was the perfect moment for me. Anyway, moving on. But yes, no, now Hurley is in possession of the manifest, but I did want to leave that one off so that we can really focus in that he now has a manifest where he can start checking off on who he's talked to and who he's not. But we got to go back to the flashbacks here. We got to go back to, we see Claire. She's got her little baby bump going on. She's baby proofing. She's hanging curtains. Thomas walks in. Ugh, here we go. This is our moment, y'all. Get prepared because we're about to go in on it. And she's like, "Oh, we've got plans with Sasha and blah 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 tonight." And he did not want to hear about plans. He is pissed. He like why that sets him off, but whatever. So he goes off into this tangent of like, "We've always have plans. We always have somewhere we need to be. I don't think I can do this anymore." And she's like, "What? Do what?" And he's like, I want to have a baby. Well, a little late for that because Claire tried to give you the out like forever ago when she first found out. Yeah. Now all of a sudden it's real and you want to bow out. He even insinuates to her that she was supposed to be on the pill. You got pregnant on purpose. This man, we're gonna stop here because then we're gonna go to the second part of this flashback, but we're stopping here because let's throw it out there, y'all. Who wants to start? Yeah. Look, we're all in. Yeah, we're all.
I mean, John Locke's barely in this, so fuck Thomas.
Jake, what were your thoughts? Like, is this first rewatch here that like she's like so vulnerable in this moment and he's just laying into her? What are your thoughts on Thomas here?
Yeah, as soon as he started laying into her about, you know, just having a baby and, you know, starting a family, then I was like, okay, this guy sucks. So yeah, and then he just leaves and I'm like, okay, I'm cool not seeing this guy for the rest of the show. Because yeah, he sucks, like I said. So fuck that guy.
And just blaming her as well. It's like, you made her like
the fact that she said that, yeah.
If only there was something you could have done, Thomas, to maybe not have a pregnancy happen. But no, you didn't wear anything, did you, Thomas?
Yeah. Gregg?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Thomas, more so than Claire.
I would hope so.
Especially in this scene, but like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's really important to like really shine on this moment is back when they first said she was pregnant, she said we can't do this. Like you guys Gregg brought up, she's like, I make $5 at the Fish and Fry. Like we cannot have a baby. To him going, yeah, we're doing this. We're having a baby. And she's like, wait, are you sure? Like, I don't think this isn't part of our plans. This was she said this when they first found out. And he was like, no, we're going to be a big, happy family. And then to obviously several weeks, months into this is now all of a sudden like, I can walk away. This is the biggest piece of shit dick moment from a man. And not all men, so don't come for me. There are a lot of men that can easily just walk away, leaving a woman that there's nothing you can do at that point, you know, and that's completely, I hate that they had to show that, but I think that that's a very like important moment that it might be very easy to walk away, but we can't. You know what I mean? And so that moment, just for her to be like, I freaking didn't want to do this in the beginning, and you talked me into it. Now you get to take off, and now I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what leads us into kind of her start of those decision-making moments that we're going to get to. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about in this moment with Thomas before we get into kind of where we're leading in?
If anyone comes for you for that take, like you said, then they're the problem.
Yeah.
Don't come for me, men. I'm sorry.
No, it's very obviously like regardless of like men, right? Like men do suck for the record, but regardless of that, like this character also sucks because he specifically, she's like you're an artist and I make no money. Like we can't have a baby. And he was like, no, we can. It'll be great. She's like, all right. And now 3 months later, he's like, no, actually, never mind. This isn't working. Like for no reason. Like she's literally like putting up curtains and like making plans with their friends. Like, oh, hey, we're going to do this. And he's like, no, this doesn't work for me. Like, fuck you, bro. So, I mean, yes, men are shit and men suck. But like, aside from that, Thomas also sucks. No, you can be mad at me. I said all.
Also, I think
I'm a good egg.
I'm a good boy.
Also, I think we need to create a new game for our listeners to count how many Fs happen or an FU. We'll count them all, but like this could be our new game. Put it in the comments how many times you count the F word in our podcast.
This is not a family show, sorry.
We have an explicit rating for a reason.
But that leads us into, again, like I said, I mean, Claire just coming to the realization, like, I'm basically stuck here at this point and alone. So she goes back to Mr. Psychic, and she's obviously very distraught. She's like, I hope you wouldn't give me my reading before. I'd hope you'd give it to me now. And he's like, sure. She hands him over some money. He counts it. She makes a joke like, if you're psychic, why do you have to count the money? He's like, it doesn't work like that. So then they start the reading again. And instantly he goes, oh, when did he leave you? You know, and it's obviously this man does have somewhat of a gift because he's able to pick up on these things. Also, maybe her face will probably give it away a little bit because she is obviously very disheveled here. But in this moment, he's like, okay, so it's crucial that you raise this baby. Like, it's absolutely crucial. It has to be you and you alone. And she's like, well, you mean me and Thomas? Like, is Thomas coming back? And he's like, no. The father is like, he's gone. Like, give up that dream real quick in a hurry. You have to raise this baby. And to which she says, no, if Thomas doesn't come back, I'm giving this baby up for adoption. Like, not part of my plan, y'all. And he's like, no. And she's like, well, great, fine. You have my money. Cool, great. Like, I'm taking off. I'm literally not doing this with you. He throws the money back in here. You have to raise this baby. He's adamant over and over and over again. She's like, thanks, bye, gotta go. We then see several more months have passed. She's very much pregnant. He's calling her in the middle of the night. You have to raise this baby. She's like, oh my gosh, please stop calling me. What are you doing? You've been doing this for months. He's like, great danger will, and she's like interrupting him. No, great danger is going to befall you if you don't quit calling me in the middle of the night. I love that line. It's so fun. Because also if you woke me up, don't wake me up. I'm like a grumpy bear. Like, don't do it. But she, you know, they're obviously have been having this interaction for several months where he's, after that reading, he's very adamant that she is the one that raises this baby and her alone. So we get to the part here where she's in the adoption agency's office. She's obviously picked an adopted family. And she's like, hey, do you know Catch a Falling Star? Love that moment. I think it's just so cute that she's like, they're literally telling her, you will have nothing to do with this baby after you hand this baby over. And it's starting to finally click in her head, like, I am about to say goodbye to this baby, but I want, you know, my mom used to sing the song to me. Will you sing Catch a Falling Star to the baby? And they're like, yeah, of course. She, of course, goes to sign the papers. Pen upon pen upon pen will not let her sign these papers. And then she's like remembering all of these conversations with the psychic, to which she goes, you know what? I'm so sorry. And she walks out, and then she goes back to the psychic, which we're going to get more into that last interaction there. But I want to kind of go over these flashbacks here with you guys on what your thoughts are here of what he said to her. Obviously, he's very adamant about it. Jake, what were your thoughts of, like, why is this so important that Claire has to raise this baby? Like, what were your thoughts going into this?
I mean, throughout these last two flashbacks, really, it's destiny. I mean, I think there's a reason that they ended up on the island. There's a reason she's being told she has to raise the kid. There has to be some hidden meaning for everything. And like the fact that the pens don't even work, like that's just so much coincidence for that to happen. So like that's really what pushes her to not make this decision. So I am very intrigued how much of this is going to come out as like having been planned by something out there. So
yeah, Kevin, Michael, Greg, anything you guys want to add here? I know we're getting to the big moment of the psychic, but these are crucial parts I think that need, because he's so adamant about it. It's obviously once I would be so pissed if this man kept calling me over and over again.
I do find it really funny that like when they're handing the pens to Claire, and then the couple looks so nervous, like, I'll give you a pen, please just sign this paper. So yeah, is it coincidence? Is it a fate? You know, can we mistake coincidence for fate? Who knows? We'll have to find out.
Yeah, I'm like, what are my thoughts on none of the pens working? I don't know.
It was a bad pen day.
A bad pen day. They should have tested those out before they walked into that room.
Yeah, that lawyer is getting like a stern talking to.
Yeah. You messed up the one job because you didn't test the pens out.
But yeah, and going back to like my point earlier too, though, about the psychics, about like I'm always cautious of is like, I'm always skeptical, like, is this person scamming? So like, did this person like fake give you back the $200, right? And now they're hounding you to come back because they want you to pay more, right? I'm always skeptical. So I'm like, what is this man doing? What is happening here? Leave poor Claire alone. She's just a pregnant girl lost in the world.
And enter Greg to be like, this idiot.
Greg's like, spend the money. You're an idiot.
She had to work how many hours to get that at $5 an hour?
At her $5 fish and fry. I also want to take a moment here. I don't know if it's just because I am a mom here and maybe I can provide a lot of insight, and especially in this episode. I'm also adopted, so like the adoption story like really needs to kind of hone in, because Michael just brought up the they're sitting there like, here, take my pen, please sign this. Adoption is such a hard thing, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but even when you give up a baby for adoption, they have 3 days to change their mind. So you can either like take the baby, everything's been signed, but there is a law that literally within 3 days the mom can take it back, even if she signed the rights away. So for an adopted family, this is huge, and I think that it was a very short clip. But Michael, I'm glad you brought it up, because like they've probably been through the ringer, right? You want that baby so bad. You've dreamed about having a baby and creating this family, and you're relying on somebody to give up a part of them, which is a completely selfless, amazing thing to do. I'm so grateful to my birth parent, because, without that, I wouldn't have my dad and things like that. But I can't imagine just the emotions that Claire's going through. And I think that, again, like I brought this up, you can see when they're starting to like really dive in, like, you will have nothing with this baby, like nothing. And it's starting to click in her head, like, I'm about to give up a piece of me. But then you have this other couple on the other side of the table that's like, please give up this piece. Like, this is what we want. This is what we've been dreaming about. And so in that moment, like, and Michael, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I can't imagine being an adoptive family hoping and praying that this works out. We see time and time again, we've heard stories of, we had 3 other babies we were supposed to get, and they changed their mind, or this happened. And so that moment when she's walking out and the intended mom is saying, no, like, my heart breaks for that couple, because I can't imagine what they've gone through. And I love that as little bit as they threw in there, that has to be probably a very emotional moment. And I'm glad that they left that in this episode.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not made out to be like bad people at all. Like,
right.
Yeah. And like, for good reason. I also, it's like kind of, we haven't gotten there yet, but like also just thinking about these people were going to spend how much money? Like, because she was going to get $20,000 after the baby was born. She was getting everything like taken care of ahead of time. So like, they've put so much. Even if you just look at the money aspect of it, they put so much into it. So like, poor random couple.
And even like Claire saying, like, can you sing Catch a Falling Star to it? And they're like, yeah, like, of course, absolutely. So it is like a sweet moment there. It turns into like, yeah, I do like that scene. It's good.
Yeah, most definitely. Anything else on this before we jump back to the beach? Or
Let's go.
All right. So we've got some big moments coming up, but I'm going to kind of hone in a little bit here. Obviously, I mentioned earlier, Jack is trying to give Claire a sedative because he has no faith in her that she is any sort of telling the truth here. She is completely offended. She said, bro, back off. You're done. I'm moving back to the beach. No one tried to murder me on the beach. I'm out of here. Like, peace out. To which she takes off with her giant duffel bag, very heavily pregnant. I mean, I couldn't even like not be without like I got short of breath standing up. So the fact this girl's carrying this massive duffel bag is just a full-on prove a point to Jack, like, screw you moment, because I would be like, I'm going back to the beach, but like, can you actually carry my bag for me? I don't want to walk. And so she obviously takes off. Charlie comes up to her aid. Hey, like, where are you going? She's like, screw you. Like, Jack doesn't believe me. I'm leaving. He's like, so to prove that you're saying you're traipsing off into the jungle by yourself with a giant duffel bag, fully pregnant? Okay. And I just love that moment there. And she's like, I'm not crazy, Charlie, you know, and he's like, I didn't say you were, but like, also I'm kind of insinuating you're a little nuts right now. But again, the emotions of being pregnant, she's like had it. So they continue on their walk. Obviously, they're now fully into the jungle now, and she starts to have contractions, which we mentioned. And she's like, oh my God, go get in. I also love this moment that he's like, I used to be a drug addict. She's like, get Jack. Like, where did this come from? Not the time to tell me all these things. And she's just like, okay. So Charlie, of course, takes off running into the jungle to get Jack, stumbles upon Ethan, says, go get Jack. Claire's having the baby. She's down here on the path. Go get Jack. He's like, wait, Claire's having the baby? And he's like, yes, go get Jack. I just said this. Like, or clean your ears out, bro. And he takes off. Charlie takes off back to help Claire. Then, of course, you know, we see them having a moment. She's kind of settled down a little bit, but she's saying that they hurt. She's scared in this moment. I can't imagine. But we take it back to this flashback. And I want to touch here before we get into the whole, like, Ethan Rom of it all. This flashback is, she shows back up after she has just left this adoption agency's office. And she's like, okay, what now? Like, I heard you. I guess I'll raise the baby. And he's like, actually, about that. I changed my mind. Here's a couple in LA. And they can raise the baby. And here's your flight and all the stuff that you need. Here's some money. And she's like, well, hold on, back up. You've been calling me for months, telling me I have to raise this baby. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden there's a couple? Like, what's going on here? He's like, no, these are good people, Claire. They can take care of this baby. It's totally fine. Like, they're legit. You have to get on this flight. To which, again, we're like backing up into Charlie, you know, and her in the jungle. And he's like, well, I believe that some people have a gift. Like, maybe there was something. So then, of course, she flashes back again. And we see her opening the ticket. And she's like, what? Tomorrow? I can't leave tomorrow. He's like, it has to be this flight. Has to be this flight. You have to take this. The couple will be there waiting for you. There's no other way around this. It has to be this flight. To which she realizes, oh my God, that's why he didn't give up on me raising this baby. He was like, I'm not taking any chances with this broad because she's been not listening to me for months. Yeah. She's getting on this plane that's about to crash. So what
you will raise this Antichrist.
Jake, what are your moments when that realization happened, that she finally realized that he saw that plane crashing and put her on that to make sure that she was going to be the one to raise that baby? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, again, all about fate. I really strongly think, like, how much is going on and how much, like, people are making sure that certain things happen. So it's very curious. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what happens, and obviously we're gonna get to our big reveal here shortly. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Anybody else when you've
It's getting so good. It's such a good scene. Like the way they reveal it, like slowly. You have the scene with Charlie and Claire, and then the first part of the flashback, and then you go back to Charlie and Claire, and you have the second part of the flashback, and then cut back to Claire's face of like,
yeah,
this son of a bitch.
Yeah, it is very like you wonder how much of this is fate, how much of this is like, did someone do this on purpose, right? Because like this is now another person that we've seen that like had the option to not be on this plane, but like was on this specific flight. So like, is it fate? Is it planned? Like,
right.
Yeah, Greg.
For this one, it's hard for me to decide between him and Thomas as being the biggest dick of the episode. Like,
right.
He sent her to the island, but Thomas sent her there with a baby.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I think for me in this moment, it's like I get where he obviously, we don't know what he saw. We don't know his vision or what that was. But to knowingly put a pregnant woman, very heavily pregnant woman, on an island with nothing, no medical, we don't know there's a doctor. He doesn't know there's a doctor. Well, he might know there's a doctor on the flight, but like, we don't know any of these things. Like for him to just like put her into that kind of situation just to make sure that she is the one raising this baby. She literally showed up. She obviously had changed her mind. She showed up at your house. Yeah, just, I mean, for her to come to that realization, sitting there, like thinking she's about to have a baby because like she was having contractions, for her to sit there and come to that realization, oh my gosh, I'm about to pop out a kid on an island with nothing except for a drug addict sitting next to me. What is happening to my life here? Like, I just like the realization that comes into her head there of like, man, he got me. He pulled one over on me. This is where Greg could be like, I was gullible. Like massive moment there. So again, being pregnant, I can say that there are so many hormones and emotions going through your body during that I can't, her acting in this, I'm sorry. Emily de Ravine, like phenomenal, like chef's kiss for how she was able to get just how you feel every emotion that she's feeling in this episode, this entire episode.
Which is also crazy because we see in her dream that she was not pregnant in the dream. So like the actress herself is very clearly not pregnant. Like,
yeah.
So like for her to so convincingly portray that is well done on her part.
Yeah, and
you
as
never really second guess it. Yeah, that's a good
right.
point.
Yeah, and like that's what I'm saying. Like, if somebody's actually been there and through all of that, like I know you guys, you could be like, yeah, that was great acting. No, it's actually phenomenal acting because like it's hard to do. Like when I say the emotions and the hormone, I mean, there was a moment when I was pregnant that I literally started off laughing to crying to like screaming within like 5 minutes. It's just like there's so much like raging through your body. So
was Sawyer on the screen?
Possibly. It's a good possibility, actually. But no, I mean, so yeah, again, hats off to Emily de Ravine, like, and Claire in her portrayal, because just her, like, her facial expressions, her screaming, her, just everything all around. She was fantastic in this. Anything else about this moment before we kind of get to our final moment here?
I'm ready for this reveal.
All right, here we go. Strap in, everyone. Here's where it gets a little cray-cray. So we see Jack and Kate, and a couple other people at the caves. Here comes Saeed, our good old Saeed. He's back. We know from our last episode, we ended with him hearing whispers. He runs in and he's like, Jack. Well, not running in. He's limping in because he hurt his leg. But he's like, Jack, I gotta talk to you. And he's like, we're not alone. We're not alone. We're not alone. And they're like, bro, you are delusional. What is happening? Like, let me check your leg. And he's like, Jack, forget about my leg. Forget about the water. We are not alone. I found the French woman. And like, we're not alone. And then, of course, you see Locke, of course, being his really creepy Loch-ness. But, I mean, Michael, you mentioned, I don't think he actually knew about the French woman. And I didn't think about that either. So I'm glad we're going to touch on that, because I don't think that went through my head that he's just now finding out about a French woman on top of Saeed saying we're not alone. And so then, of course, we see Claire and Charlie getting up in the jungle. She's like, I think I'm good. I don't feel any pain. He's like, Jack mentioned your stress could cause like false labor. So you sure you're okay? She's like, yeah, I'm good. Back to the caves. He's like, they're tending to Saeed now. In runs Hurley. And he's like, Jack, I gotta tell you, I got the manifest. there wasn't somebody on this manifest. Like, and he's like, again, Jack not being paying attention. He's trying to be the good doctor of like dealing with Saeed's most likely delusion and his like gross leg. Now Hurley's in here like, Jack, shut up and can you pay? Hello? Click, click, click. I'm trying to talk to you. Big moment. There was a name not on the manifest. Ethan. Ethan is not on the plane. He was not on the plane. Go to the jungle. Ethan's there. And they're like, Ethan, where's Jack? And he's like, just creepily staring at Claire. Charlie's like, where's Jack, bro? And Claire's like, honed in. What is about to happen to me? Charlie's starting to realize, okay, we may be in danger here. End of episode. So, woo! Let's talk about it. Let's jump in. This was a huge moment for Lost.
Yeah. Like, I definitely, as I said, I think I found it weird that he was all of a sudden showing up a couple episodes ago, because like we saw nothing of him in like the first like 8 episodes or something, and then all of a sudden episode 9, I think he just shows up, or 8, I think, yeah, he just shows up and
Lost hunting buddy.
yeah, it was like, okay, this is interesting. So it totally makes sense now because he wasn't supposed to be there. So of course, that's why. Yeah, no, I'm interested to see what this character's motivations are, who he really is. And I think very clearly he was actually attacking Claire in the middle of the night. At first I thought maybe it is actually John Locke, but no, it's Ethan. So
every time something happens, Jake's like, it's Locke.
Locke. For good reason, because like Locke, I mean, he's not crazy.
This man is standing half in the dark, like freaking Darth Vader over there. Like,
I'm curious, Jake. Do you have any thoughts? Like, who is this guy and where did he come from? Like, he wasn't on the plane. Why is he there?
Well, my thought is maybe he has something to do with the French woman, like with Danielle Russo, and I mean that's kind of the first thought, but maybe there's more survivors on this island than just her that aren't affiliated with her, so that's a possibility as well. So I'm curious. I mean, maybe because I thought about like the government having some involvement, so maybe like he's someone for the government that's like spying on them and like, getting information. And also like, I don't, but then, what does what would the government want if that's what he's there for? What would the government want with Claire's baby? So that's kind of, there's still a lot out there. So
you mean Lost is making you wonder what is out there?
Yeah.
You have questions? What?
Yeah.
But no, Michael, I want to jump into when you mentioned that, because again, like I said, when we were leading up into this moment, I did not even take into consideration that Locke didn't know about the French woman. So run us through like that moment of Locke realizing that and all of those things that you came up with.
Yeah, I mean, so Locke wasn't on that mission where they got the French transmission, and we see when Jack discovers the caves and Charlie's like, they find the 2 skeletons in the cave, and Charlie's like, are these the people that were here before us? And Locke's like, what? He's like, Locke hasn't been filled in on these little details, so now Saeed's coming running in camp being like, I found the French woman, and Locke's like, excuse me? You found who now?
Who?
The who?
He's like, could she be my next girlfriend on the island? What's happening?
She called Helen.
Yeah, she called Helen. No, I mean, I think again, like in all of the rewatches, and this is again why I love Lost so much, is like I feel like you get something new every time, and I never picked up on that until you literally just mentioned that he wouldn't have known because he wasn't around for that. So he's finding out about the French woman for the first time here, and I never took it that way. I was just like Locke's being his creepy self, like just trying to like figure out what to do next. But no, he's like, wait. Not only is there a French woman, but now we're not alone. Now Saeed's coming in here all hurt and what's happening. Now here comes Hurley. So, yeah, I can't imagine those other ones that don't know about this moment right now.
Yeah.
They should communicate more.
Obviously.
There's only 46 of them. Like, how hard is it to just talk to each other?
Right. Kevin, Greg, anything in this final moment here?
Michael touched on what I was gonna say with the moth episode. So that's all I got.
What did you guys think of Ethan?
Ethan's so creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So creepy. Like that like blank stare.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's gonna eat her. Like it is.
He's the new Hannibal.
So creepy.
I was waiting for him to go.
No, and like he did. I remember watching the first time. Like though we did like get a bunch of people kind of introduced in kind of like side character-y sort of ways. He did stand out to me when I first watched it. So like. Then he's making this creepy stare, and I'm like, "Ah, kill him, get him off my screen,
kill him with fire."
Right, kill him with fire. But yeah, this is like, but even going back to like the thing about like who hit Locke or who hit Saeed, in the jungle,
yeah,
right? Like who knocked him out when he was trying to triangulate the signal? Like, oh. I've been thinking. I remember, like, I knew there was someone else there.
Okay, so maybe it's Ethan and not Locke. So
yeah, so like, this was very much when you're watching it live and you have to wait a whole week for this, week after week. This was very much a like,
yeah.
This was such a good ending to an episode when you have to wait week to week. It was great.
Yeah.
Before we move on as well, Jake, something I discussed in the spoiler section, I didn't want to tell you when we first met Ethan last episode because I didn't want you to know that he was important. But William Mapother, the guy that plays Ethan, is actually, I got this wrong in the spoiler section, is Tom Cruise's cousin. I said brother in the spoiler section, but he's Tom Cruise's cousin.
Yep.
All right, I did not know that.
I didn't want to be like, hey, this is Tom Cruise's cousin, and you're going to be like, well, obviously he's important.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So yeah, that's definitely gonna have way more importance because you're not gonna get someone related to Tom Cruise and not use them.
I too want to bring up what Kevin was saying is like waiting week to week live watching this. Like I sat there at my of course the Lost pops up on yours and you're like, no, like no, stop, wait, no, rewind, like add more. Like you're sitting there like you are so upset that you have to wait a week for this moment. Because it is just so like incredible. But also I also felt what Kevin felt is when we first saw Ethan with Locke, my new hunting buddy Ethan, I'm like, bro, I don't trust you. I don't know what it was, but I was like, I don't like, because we brought that up, Michael, is that they are like, sorry, they introduced the guy with the rash. Scott and Steve, they never seemed like, I don't know, somebody.
There was always something off about Ethan.
Yeah, I don't know what it was either, but I also did feel that way when I watched it live. And then, like, when he, of course, comes up and is creepily staring at Claire, I'm like, no, go away.
And
go
like
back
maybe
to the shadow. Go back hunting with Locke. We don't need this moment.
Yeah, like that could have been intentional. Like they might have directed him to like be extra, like just be a little extra. Like they might have given in some way, like purposely done that. But I remember thinking that exact thing. Like,
but it also the way that Lost does it though is like. You make it like, what is up with this dude? But like, you're still not even thinking about it, right? And then
because there's so much going
you're
on.
Like, oh my god, it is that guy! Like like you're just like you're still
you
shocked
haven't thought about him, but then you shove it back because there's so many.
Yeah, you're just like I totally forgot about that dude, and then here he is like being the weirdo, and you're like, oh my gosh, like it's just so. Again, I love that Lost will give you something, then you don't realize how badly you need it until it's like right smack dab in your face, and you're like.
Yeah. Well, and it reminds me of Scream, because like you're gonna have characters that seem a little off, but then you're like, okay, well maybe I don't think anything of it. Like I don't know, I think back to like the first Scream and like Stu is like this really goofy guy and you're not thinking anything of it, but you're like, oh, of course, like the guy that kind of seems a little crazy and aloof. Of course, he is like actually crazy. So.
While we were talking about it, I did want to ask you, Jake, Do you have any suspicions on any of the new characters aside from Ethan?
Well, because they just showed up. I don't know. Like, I feel like that's even deliberate to be like, who the hell are Scott and Steve? Like, I don't know, but like, they don't have as much importance. Like, I feel like the Ethan scenes were at least like very deliberate of like, they'd show him a little bit. I don't think we've really even seen Scott and Steve enough. And then Sullivan, I just thought he was like a guy to tease, like, because of the rash thing of like, how episode 9, what was it? Like Saeed and Danielle are talking about like the rash or whatever. So like I almost thought like that's just to tease that Sullivan is probably gonna fall victim to like this rash. So
Can we just talk about how good Jake's memory is? Like the fact that he just remembers Sullivan. Like
I was like,
I went through this with Jake with Survivor. Like his memory is so good and mine's so bad. So I'm always very impressed.
No, I have a very good memory. Like I know mine is very good, and Jake is still like puts me to shame. I feel like I know nothing around Jake.
His version of Tyrion is that he does podcasts and he remembers things.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on this section of the podcast with me? All right. Well, I'll let you guys get to your spoiler section, and
we're gonna do rankings.
What?
Rankings.
Yes. Oh, right. The rankings. Yes.
Favorites and worst.
There's so much. Yeah. Favorite and least favorite characters. So least favorite, obviously Thomas. Like, let's just get him out.
Should we just get that across the board?
Yeah. Let's just.
Worst character.
Yeah.
Oh, what did Shannon do?
Kristin.
I'm sorry, Greg mentioned it earlier. I'm going with the psychic. I'm sorry. Like Thomas, yes, 100% up there, but psychic, no. Yeah, worst character. You
Malcolm.
Like, yes, Thomas is an asshole and he like took off, but this man blatantly put her into harm's way. Like 100% put her into harm's way. So yeah, psychic is taking over Thomas. Sorry.
I go with Malcolm too.
Okay, so we got 3 Thomas and 2 Dr. Malkin. Okay. All right, and then favorite character. I know Charlie's name is probably gonna come up, but I'm gonna go with Hurley. Because Hurley, like, I mean, hey, he got like everyone's like names, got everyone accounted for, and then was the one to drop the news that Ethan doesn't belong there. So he had a very important role to play in this episode, and I think Hurley's just the most wholesome character in this show. So.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I am going to go with Charlie. Charlie was so much fun this episode. One line that I didn't mention that I want to mention was the brilliant line where it's like, "This is what separates us from these savage Yanks having a cup of tea," which is such a good line. And yeah, he's just there for Claire, and he has some funny moments. And like when he's trying to calm Claire down, and he ends up just stressing himself out. It's like 1 sugar plum fairy, 2 sugar plum fairy. It's like, yeah, Charlie was great in this one.
Yeah.
I'm going with Hugo on this one just because there was so much character development. He's not just a joke. He actually does stuff now. And I like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's Charlie for me. It's his like genuine like care for Claire, right? Like not just because she's pregnant, not just like he just genuinely cares about her, and like that so clearly comes through. But then also like that little moment of him like admitting to someone else that he is a drug addict, and like he got over it, so he can get over it, and like he can do anything. Like good for you, Charlie. Good for you.
Been a week.
Yeah. No, but like so many. Yes, it's been a week, but like so many people won't share things about themselves like that. So like he did, and he just blurted it out because he was trying to make her feel better. Like, Charlie.
Yeah.
And now for Sawyer.
Now, why is Sawyer the best character this time?
Obviously, Sawyer's the best character because he was shirtless, and he also gave the manifest up without a fight. So, I mean, it's clearly Sawyer. He's the savior of the day. No, I'm just kidding. It's I love you, Sawyer. Just love, love, love. But no, it's Charlie because I was crying. Just that genuine, heartfelt love and devotion that he has to Claire. I mean, he gave her peanut butter. I know we all make fun of it, but like he's there to try and help her get through all of this. And it's just love that man. He's just so great. I love Charlie. So yes, Charlie is the favorite of the episode.
Yeah. All right. 3 Charlie, 2 Hurley. All right. Michael, where do the episode rankings stand as of now?
I have this. Sorry, I should have had this ready. So episode number 1 is Walkabout. Number 2 is the pilot, part 1 and 2. 3 is Confidence Man. 4 is House of the Rising Sun. 5 is White Rabbit. 6 Tabula Rasa, and 7 is The Moth.
Okay.
Also, where do we put Solitary? Because that's outdated.
Solitary. I thought it was like right around. I think it might have been.
I think it's above Tabula Rasa.
Yeah, I thought it was above Tabula Rasa, and maybe it's above White Rabbit. Maybe it's just.
I think it was below House of the Rising Sun, so that would be 5th, because I think I lost the White Rabbit argument again.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna put this as the new number 5. I think it being right in the middle of things, right above Solitary and right below House of the Rising Sun. Like, I found Claire's backstory interesting. But like obviously like the big reveal of the episode is like the large part that kind of puts it here. And so yeah, I would say this is number 5 for me.
Oh, I'm gonna make this a complete mess to rank. I actually think that this is the second worst of the episodes that we watched so far. Again, we're talking like very marginal. They've all been fantastic. I think the end reveal is fantastic. I think that the stuff between Charlie and Claire is really fun. But I think on the whole, the Claire backstory, like, it's not amazing. And I think we overlook how good the Kate backstory was. And I think it's better than the Charlie one. And so I'd put it below Tabula Rasa and above The Moth, just because all the stuff with the Marshall and Kate, I think if you didn't have this amazing ending on it, I think that really boosts it up. But I think the backstory isn't the best that we've seen.
Fair.
I'm kind of torn because I don't love like the entirety of Claire's story. It is very it's frustrating to see her be so manipulated, like so easily, like do this. And she's like, okay, sure. But I do think not only the reveal, but also kind of the question that gets raised about like, is this fate that she was there? Like what the pens didn't work, like why did she have to be on that plane? Like, why did it have to be that one? Was it, like, was it planned? Was it fate? Was it something else? Like I think that question is a good question. Like that's something that kind of like keeps me thinking about it. So, I'm torn. Like not just the reveal, but also that kind of like that little thing. Cause I don't love Claire's story is a little like meh, but like the little things in it. Come back to me.
I think this is a great episode that sets up what's to come. But yeah.
I agree with Michael where his placement was second to last, just because it doesn't completely develop the story. Like we get part of the story, it's a cliffhanger. There's not enough stuff in it for me to put it any higher than that.
Kristin?
Oh boy. I've been over here biting my tongue. I am actually appalled that this is ranking so low. So I'm really going to be screwing up this ranking. I'm putting this at 4 underneath Confidence Man because I know where you guys are getting at, where you're saying that Claire's not getting. Oh, yeah, I know. I'm shocked myself, but listen, here's why. First of all, we have, not only the huge reveal of Ethan, we have the huge reveal that the psychic literally put her on the plane because he saw it going down. We also have where we now are starting to realize Hurley and all of them are realizing we have two separate groups here. We really need to be figuring out who is who, where's where, maybe put a door on the cave, something. But there's more to that here. You know what I mean? And then on top of it, y'all are hating on McClare here. To her backstory, I'm telling you guys, here's where I'm at. Again, and maybe this is just because I've been pregnant and there's so much character development in Claire that we went from her being like, I don't want a baby. Man breaks up with me, still don't want the baby, going to adoption. Okay, I'm gonna raise this baby. Now I'm definitely stuck raising this baby because he put me on a plane that crashed on a freaking island.
Mhm.
The character development that we just saw just in this episode of her, and we haven't gotten really anything from her other than she loves peanut butter. Like, we've received very little information about Claire. So the fact that we're getting so much information from her on top of the huge reveals that we're getting in this episode, I'm so sorry. I never, like, House of the Rising Sun is still phenomenal and I love it, but it's not as good as Confidence Man. It's got to be 4 for me. And I'm sorry, I'm messing up the whole thing tonight. I'm shocked that it's like down at the bottom. I'm like, what? What is happening?
I want to clarify. I do really like Claire. I just don't appreciate, like, not appreciate. Like, I don't enjoy watching, like, poor Claire, like, be so mistreated during the episode is what it's not like
Claire, but like she's a badass came out of it. Like, she's sitting on the freaking island.
I'm torn.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we're looking at these episodes, like when we're talking, like Michael, even you were talking about the Kate, like in her backstory, we still didn't really get much. Like, we got a little bit where we're starting to understand her character and why the marshal had come and gotten her and whatever, but it didn't really reveal much. Whereas we have a Claire episode that's giving us so much into her backstory. You can almost write her storyline now in her whole book, a life story. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm placing it a little bit higher, is because I feel like we got so much out of this episode while also still giving us a setup for more, like you mentioned. So that's why I'll be alone on that. It's fine.
No, I would probably say right below House of the Rising Sun.
So right where I have it, like 5th.
Right. Just because it is in the middle. I do still like the Jin and Sun kind of like finally, like, because they can't communicate, like they're just there, and so like to actually see what they're like, I do like that more. I just think that even though I don't like seeing Claire like being treated so badly and like just being like tossed around by people, and her boyfriend wants the baby and then doesn't want the baby, and the psychic tells her she can't have it, then she has to have it, then like, as much as I don't like that part of it, like I said, the question of why didn't any of the pens work? Why did it have to be that flight? Did he know the plane was going to crash? Did he know she was going to survive if it did crash? Like, there's so much there that like it keeps me thinking about the episode. So I'm putting it in the middle.
So
now we're stuck because we're tied. You guys placed it 5th. They placed it like what? 10th?
7th.
Yeah. So maybe like compromise below solitary. So like 1 placement under.
Yeah, 1.
It's you like guys 6th or something. I was doing the math in
each direction.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still maintaining.
I don't think this is a bad episode. Again, I say it every time. Like,
I'm still maintaining it's way up there, but
I wouldn't put like any of these episodes less than like an 8. So it's like,
oh yeah, for sure. No, this is gonna be my white rabbit for. This is my white rabbit that Michael has.
Let's see. The lowest rated on IMDb is House of the Rising Sun. Of the ones we've watched so far, is House of the Rising Sun at 8.0.
Which is crazy. But yeah, they're also getting like 8s and above though.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, they're all very good episodes. So like,
that was all the people like me who don't like reading captions.
Wow.
All right. So we've got our rankings, we've got our favorites and least favorites, and now we get to do the spoiler section.
Yes.
And then wrapping up Raised by Another. Jake, what are any last minute thoughts for you as we end this jam-packed episode?
I'm just excited to get to the next one, talk about what just happened and like or
We're
what's
gonna
going to
make you
happen.
wait a week, just like we had to.
Yay! All right. Well, with that, let you guys do your spoiler section now, and we will see you all next time on the Tribe of Nerds.
All right. Hello, everyone. We are back for our Tribe of Nerds after Jake. This is the spoiler section. So if you have not watched the episode, leave. Goodbye. Shoo.
Or stay and be spoiled, and that's your problem.
Don't do it, but like just move. This is your time. TikTok, TikTok. All right, here we go. That was plenty of time. All right, let's jump into this. Raised by Another. Y'all just like totally did that episode dirty by ranking it so low. I'm so like shocked here.
No, I mean I like the episode, but I understand the like why other episodes are liked better.
I'm just trying to rank based by what we've watched so far.
Right.
What I know is coming.
I know that's a hard part too.
I think that the first thing that I recognized when I was like raised by another, like raised by an other, like the others, like right from the beginning, before the episode even starts, I'm already like, I can't talk about this. I can't talk about this.
We can now.
That's why I'm so quiet during the first part usually, because I'm afraid I'm going to spill something for Jake.
I know, right? Well, Raised by Another. Here's the thing: is that like we already know, spoiler wise, we know that Kate's eventually going to take Aaron, so he is eventually going to be raised by another, which was a big no-no.
That's not true.
Well, he's raised for a while.
Adopt him in LA as good people.
Well,
all right. Okay.
Sure.
Maybe that's the good couple that's gonna raise him.
I don't. No comment on this.
You saw it all coming, man.
We also know that at the very end of this episode, Ethan came to take them away. We know that what's coming up, which I don't want to spoil because we're going to end up spoiling over there when we do the other part of the spoiler for All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues, or yes, All the Best Cowboys Have Daddy Issues. But going into like the psychic of it all, he brought up, like we all know, that Charlie helped her lead to that conclusion that he knew the plane was going to crash. We also will see him later on in the series, so he will come back. But yeah, I mean, we see a lot of different things on Raised by Another here that we know that Claire we know her story and where her story leads. She goes a little cray-cray, and things happen with that. So what other spoilers do you guys have for Raised by Another?
Well, like the things that she's seeing of like being injected, like that's all real.
Yeah, which we're gonna get to, and just not even like well, no, I guess it's at the end of the season, right?
Yeah,
right. But like, yeah, like it seems so crazy. But like, why would they have filmed those if it wasn't real? You know, like so like you have that kind of sense watching it, but like we know it's very real.
Yeah. And that, I mean, I say at the end of this, end of the season, I actually think it's in the first couple episodes of the second season, if I remember correctly, when she starts again, Aaron becomes sick. And so then we go through that whole like flashback, if you will, that's going to be our first like flashback on the island, which is not where we really see those flashbacks. So, that's going to be coming up for sure. And then also we're going to get kind of our first glimpse into the others as well when that moment happens for Claire, and like really who Ethan is. The other thing about this too that I want to bring up, because I mean I know we're going to touch on it more because they go into more detail after Charlie in the next episode, but we do know that the Tailies, we've brought up the Tailies before. We know that they had Ethan, and then they have what's his butt, can't think of his name right off the top of my head, but you know who I'm talking about. Goodwin. There we go. I knew it was me. So we know that they were sent there. Obviously, we know that they were sent there by Ben.
Ben sent them.
We're not even there yet. Ben's gonna be coming in. Can't wait for that moment.
It's so funny when Jake talks about like, oh, I can't wait to get his backstory. I'm like, you're gonna be waiting a while, buddy.
Right. Right. I know. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, so there a lot of spoilers, but a lot of things that like are you're not gonna have to wait a long time for, but then others that you're gonna have to wait forever for, which is also another frustrating thing about Lost. So I I know that we've been talking about the numbers. I did miss several of them. I heard them, but was not putting two and two together. So, Greg, you kind of had my back on that one. You want to talk about the numbers in this episode?
Sure. There was 4 months of the psychic telling Claire to raise the baby herself.
Mm-hmm.
There was 6 weeks that she was late, which is 42 days. And then Flight 815, which is the first time they mentioned 815 as the flight.
And didn't they even say, too, it was supposed to land at 8:15, too, or something like that?
I think so.
Yeah. So
back to back, 8:15, 8:15.
Yeah. Flight 8:15 landing at 8:15 in LAX or something like that. Yeah.
That's just a doomed flight with that sort of numbering.
Right. What is happening here? But yeah, so I mean a lot of numbers in there as well. There was another one too.
4 months, 6 weeks, 42 days.
No, never mind.
15.
I thought there was one. I was going through them in my head, but yeah, no. So I mean, again, these numbers, if you are just like me, but here's the crazy thing: now that we're getting into it so much more and getting so much detail, I'm starting to forget it all again. So thanks for having my back on that, Greg. I hear
it's funny because I did hear 6 weeks and I was like, what a missed opportunity to not say just 8 weeks and just like use the number or say 4 weeks. And I was like, oh, because 6 weeks is 42 days.
Right. Yep. Yep. And so, which is a lot of fun with that. Trying to think of what else. We mentioned her mom in here. She mentions my mom will kill me. And we already have that kind of situation of we know what's going to happen with that. We do see again Jack. We know that Jack and Claire are siblings. Because later on we will see Claire's, him show up to Claire's mom's house. Obviously Claire is not there at this point because she's obviously fully on pregnant. But one of these things that I do have to, and I'm not going to touch on it too much because I know that we'll end up spoiling on like when we get to that point. But like we have to think about this. Claire was heavily pregnant here.
Mm-hmm. And
is he arguing? Like people will argue. Was he arguing with the mom or is he arguing with the aunt? Because I think the timeline, it doesn't add up that it would be the mom. Because we know when Claire keeps going back to visit her mom when she's in the hospital and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She was young. She was fully not pregnant. So it has to be the aunt. But people do argue that it was the mom. And I think it was the aunt. What are your guys' thoughts?
It has to be the aunt.
It has to be the aunt. Because Claire
I would say
like,
the aunt, but yes.
But also Greg, you've mentioned in the past, like it was something like because with Charlie, they claimed, put in there that he couldn't swim. Was that a foresight that they forgot? You know what I mean?
Let me check the continuity errors.
I'm just wondering because I know that people have argued. I've seen it in like lost chats of like, that was the mom that he was arguing with. No, it wasn't. I think I'm pretty confident it's the aunt. So we're checking that.
Anything about it yet?
So, all right. So they probably, all those people are obviously very wrong then. So anyway, so a lot of things with Claire, we're going to get into so much more. We're not going to spoil too much because then we would have nothing to spoil when we get to those episodes as well. So what else, anything else that we really need to touch on Raised by Another?
Not anything really pertaining to the episode itself, but while Hurley was walking around asking people where they're from and who they are and whatnot, there was a deleted scene where he talks to Steve and Scott. Steve and Scott traveled to Australia together, and it was implied but not explained whether or not they might be together, married.
Oh, there is a continuity there when it comes to it. Sorry. Yes, keep going. Okay, keep going. Sorry. Yes, what? That they were together? Is that what you said?
Scott and Steve were potentially married in the cutscene. So we don't get a whole lot on them to begin with, but like that would be interesting because I'm Scott, I'm Steve every single time. It makes sense that they knew.
Listen, boyfriend twins are a thing. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I'm looking over some of this stuff here too that I wanted to go back on that I remember. The continuity error, after she finds out she is pregnant, she claims that her mother would disown her, which we bring up because that's part of it. But we know that in the Seagull episode coming up, Par Beyond, she's already, because she was young. So she's a vegetable, like from the accident. So even her friend Rachel says, like, well, she hasn't told her mom yet. We're afraid that she might, well, what is she going to do? Because she's not she's in a vegetative state. So, you know, and then Thomas even says, well, she's basically already disowned her. Well, yeah, definitely a mess there. So it has to be the aunt. We know that just from that moment there. So for sure.
Yeah.
Then there was one other thing I was going to bring up. I had this written down.
How the psychic knows?
What?
Should we spoil how the psychic knows things?
Go for it.
Because Ethan was her baby doctor. He knew everything. He told him. He got her on that flight.
Who was the baby doctor?
Ethan.
Not in
the guy. The guy in the background does look like Ethan. Yeah.
If you go back, like 2 seasons or maybe 1 season from now, they go back and Ethan is her baby doctor in Australia. So he's feeding the psychic all the information to get her gone.
Oh, because like he's off the island, you mean? Like from when they're traveling? Is that what you're saying? Okay, gotcha. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I do remember that now. Yep. I don't know. I did have it written down, but I don't see it, and we might have already talked about it. So I think there's I have my notebook and my phone and what I write in my phone, but I don't see it. So with that, I feel like we've gotten everything that we need to really like jump on board with for Raised by Another. So we'll be back for another one for our next episode, which is all the best you already know what it is.
All the best cowboys have values.
It is. It is what it is.
There you go.
Yes. So with that, we'll see you guys later. Keep tuning in for some of our spoiler things.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Yes,
but mark any sort of comment that is a spoiler as a spoiler, because our sweet little innocent baby Jake cannot stop himself from reading.
Yes.
So
he cannot help himself. So don't put the spoilers in there, or just message us, or like do something different.
Allude to things.
Whatever you need to do.
And ask us questions.
Yes, we will definitely talk about them on the podcast. So for sure. Also, I'm gonna end this by saying, I love you, Sawyer. Marry me. Okay, bye.